In the legal world, there is a combination of forces that feed a corrupt and suffocating legal system for attorneys. Law schools, law professionals, judges, and even the firms themselves for whom you work create a system, a matrix, if you will, that is nothing like what you thought when you passed the bar exam. The purpose of this podcast is to help you escape this legal matrix, leading you out of the proverbial desert to be free of the bondage of the matrix. Hosted by Bryce D. Nyer, attorney at law with over 30 years experience in the trenches of civil and criminal litigation at the state, federal, and international levels. He's a highly accomplished and resourceful legal professional, a true master of his craft, and he's here to help you get your life back. Here's your host, Bryce D. Nyer.
Hello. This is Bryce D. Nyer coming at you from Fayetteville, North Carolina, home of Fort Bragg. We are here for another episode of Escape the Legal Matrix, and we're going to talk about something tonight which you need to hear about. That's called burdens. Burdens. That's right. Nobody likes them. Nobody wants them. But guess what? They are there. Burdens don't ever go totally away. Well, they can't go totally away, but you're going to have them. You can't go through life and think that you're not going to be burdened with someone or something. And so a lot of times in my life, when I was growing up and when I was in high school, college, army officer, and law school, I thought, man, all these burdens, and in reality, they weren't burdens. There were people that were suffering way more than me. And I would just sit there and, I would complain. I would just complain, no, stop it, you guys. And, it would put me in a different place because I would focus too much on my burdens and not focus enough on what I needed to do. And what I can suggest to you based on my experience is that you need to embrace the burdens, because when you face the burdens in your life, that means you're facing the obstacles, you're facing the pits, and you are taking the actions necessary to overcome those burdens. Now, some of those burdens are going to be created by you. Some of the burdens are going to be created by others. Some of the burdens, you're not sure where they're coming from. Maybe God is placing a burden upon you to test you, to mold you, to be somebody that you need to be, but that you are not at this particular point in time. So if you go back in history, for example, and go back to like the Old Testament times when Moses was chosen to lead the Israelites, the Jews, out of Egypt, the Exodus, he felt burdened. He didn't want to do it. He kind of argued with God. I'm not really sure how you argue with God because I don't think you're going to win that one. But he did. And he felt insecure and he didn't have faith and he didn't trust in God. He didn't trust in himself. And he felt that this was just an awful burden upon him to have to take this task, go tell his people about the 10 Commandments, and he was going to lead them out. And then eventually when he led them out, they still whined and complained. They were wandering in the desert for 40 years until eventually they came to the Promised Land. And so he felt burdened, but he accepted the burden. He embraced the burden, and he was successful in leading the people out of their bondage to the land of freedom. And then you see in the New Testament where many people are burdened. Jesus felt, on the night before his crucifixion, he wanted God to take, this cup of pain, of wrath, of, take the cup from him. He felt burdened because he was in human form. And so he felt everything that we felt. And so you're human, I'm human, we're flesh and bone and spirit. We have emotions and feelings, brains and hearts, of course. And so these burdens at times can be extremely overwhelming. And when the burdens get overwhelming, some people make really bad choices in how they deal with the burdens. Some drink to excess, some use illegal drugs, some revert to porn, some resort to other illegal activities. They sleep, they're depressed, they binge watch TV, and they find a way to numb this pain, and it doesn't solve the burden. It actually exasperates the burden that is upon them. Versus maybe taking the correct actions of act, deal with it, face it, collide with it, war with it. So when we've talked about in earlier episodes about the domains of body, of being, of balance, and business, and then living by a code of stop the lying, tell the truth, and do the work, these principles and these basic foundations strengthen you as law students, as lawyers, or whatever you do in your profession, in your professional or your personal life. And they strengthen you to deal with the burdens that come in your life. And I want to give you an example. So when I work out in the morning, and after I'm done with the workout, and sometimes it's extremely painful, and I'm sitting in my car and I might be having the protein drink or water. And then, of course, you've kind of let the rage out, let the stress out, by lifting weights or doing whatever it is, the exercises are for the day. And I get kind of relaxed. And I notice I don't feel as burdened after my workouts, after I shower, and I just lay down for a little bit and meditate before I get back up and, head in to deal with the day. I become weaponized. To deal with the burdens that I face, that I am facing, or the ones yet to storm me, storm through the door and attack me. Now, conversely, if I don't work out, I feel lethargic. I feel like I'm in a fog. I don't have clarity and focus. And the storms seem bigger because I'm not weaponized. It was the same thing when I was an Army officer. We would have PT, physical training, either, 5 days a week or 3 days a week, depending upon how intense it was. And, we would constantly be drilled for readiness and those sort of things because it kept us on our toes. We were kept fit, mentally alert, physically alert, so that in the event of war, we would be facing the burdens that come with war. And in war, there's death, there's destruction of people's lives, of people's property, of countries. And, these type of burdens that you face in life, you have to form a solid foundation to deal with them. And in today's world, especially in the legal matrix, i.e. the legal profession, i.e. the legal matrix, they're the same thing. The legal matrix seeks you out. It seeks to burden you. It seeks to destroy you. And it seeks to destroy you if it can't control you. And this is why it is so essential that you ground yourself in truth, that you stop the line, that you tell the truth and you do the work and you focus on body and you focus on being and you focus on balance and you focus on business and you go through the process and the pain and you embrace the pain and you weaponize yourself to deal with adversity and obstacles and pits and sedations and the burdens that come with it. All my life I've tried, there were times like, how can I escape this burden? How can I make the pain go away? And I'm here to tell you, the pain did not go away on its own. Excuse me. People will tell you that time heals all. Not necessarily. Not when the burdens keep coming. If you don't take the action, if you don't do something to weaponize yourself, to have a solid core, a solid foundation, those burdens will overwhelm you and they will take you down. And so at times in my life, I feel quite confident that God was testing me. I do. Because the things that happened and how it brought me to my knees and just devastated me to no end emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually. And I had to find the foundation. I found it in scripture. I found it in fitness. I found it in prayer. I found it in taking actions of doing the right thing, of getting back on the right path. And you law students, you lawyers, you have to do the same thing. Our world is a dumpster fire. Our profession is the legal matrix. It's got a cancer in it. And that cancer is the legal matrix. What you see going on across the world right now, the legal field, this legal profession, the justice system, it is creating the burdens upon people that should not exist. This legal system, this justice system has been corrupted. It's been infected. It's a cancer. It's no longer serving justice. It's no longer serving truth. It's no longer serving the people. It has no soul. And you do. And so you have to unburden yourself. And to do that, it means you've got to stand up for truth. You've got to speak in truth. You've got to operate in truth. You've got to forge yourself to be just this intense legal warrior. I mean, just intense. To where you're the tip of the spear to take down the legal matrix. Because as you get older, as you go through life, it does not get easier. It does not get easier in body. It does not get easier in being. It does not get easier in balance. And it sure as hell doesn't get easier in business. It doesn't. And you have to be on your game. You have to be playing this thing we call the impossible game. You have to pursue the path to the possibilities of who you are to be, of what your sole purpose is. In short, you got to just stand up and go fight for truth, for the right things. And all these burdens that come at you, man, you got to wield the sword of justice and the sword of truth. And you just got to get in there and you got to be weaponized. You got to beat it back, beat it down and kill it. Because if you don't, the burdens will overcome everybody and they'll overcome you until you're left to be nothing. You'll just be, you'll be like a robot. You'll be the walking dead. And that is what has happened in the legal profession. Because lawyers and law students have become delusional, deceived. They've allowed the pits and the obstacles and the sedations to overtake them because they felt so burdened, because they didn't have the solid foundation to go deal with the burdens. They didn't go through the process and embrace the pain and become that legal warrior they needed to be. And that's who you need to be, law students. That's who you need to be, lawyers. Because in the end, nobody's leaving this planet alive. Nobody. Nobody at all. So how are you going to live your life? Are you going to live it with sole purpose? Or are you just going to live and be the walking dead? You going to be a lemming or are you going to be a leader? You going to be a warrior or are you going to be a wimp? You're going to get off the bench or you're going to stay on the bench? You're going to get in the game or you're going to stay out of the game? Because the game's coming for you. I'm just not going to let you stay on a bench. It's going to drag you off or you're going to go in there and you're going to fight. You're going to take the legal matrix down. This legal matrix is real. It's not made up. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's happening all over the world. It is like this cancer that's spreading. And we need leaders in the legal profession to kill the legal matrix. We need leaders, lawyers as leaders that understand that they're going to have to endure burdens and embrace the burdens and defeat the burdens. It forges you to be that legal warrior. It forges you to be the sword of truth, the tip of the spear. So, what will you choose? What will you do? Will you sedate and become a prisoner of the burdens? Or will you destroy the burdens and fight them and overcome them to be the best version of who you can be? But to do that, you've got to find your sole purpose. You've got to have the solid foundations in body and being and balance and business. And you have to live by the code. You have to live the warrior's way. You must stop lying. You must tell the truth. And you must do the work that is necessary for you to succeed in this world against the legal matrix. This is Bryce Denier coming at you from Fayetteville, North Carolina, home of Fort Bragg. Think about what we talked about. And remember, it's your life. You're only going to get one life. You've got to make some choices, so choose wisely. This is Bryce out.